ever had a time when someone told you something and you didn't quite know if you should believe it or not? Like the time maybe they went fishing and they told you that they caught a fish that was this big. Did you look at them and say, I doubt that? Would you believe it if I said to you that as I was walking along the street the other day, I saw a blue cow drinking from the water fountain? Would you say, I doubt that, or I believe it? I think that we would all agree that that would be one statement that we would doubt very much. What if I said, it's raining outside, it's raining lollipops? Would you doubt that, or would you believe it? What if I told you that I had a purple dog at home? Would you doubt it, or would you believe it? How about trains fly through the air? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Giraffes can do somersaults. Would you doubt that, or would you believe it? Jesus is alive. Of course we would all believe that. We'd give that one a thumbs up. Polar bears spend 90% of their time dancing. Would you believe that? Thumbs up, or would you doubt it? A thumbs down. How about hens lay eggs? Believe it or doubt it? Jesus is God's son. It's another definite thumbs up. We would believe that one. How about jelly beans grow on trees? As much as I'd like them to grow on trees, I think that maybe they would get a thumbs down because we just might doubt that. Some of these statements are really outrageous. Some of them right away we know that we don't believe, like the jelly beans growing on trees, like it raining lollipops outside. And some of them we do believe right away. Jesus is God's son. Jesus is alive. Hens lay eggs, and other ones we have to think about. Maybe trains do fly. Maybe not. But we need to think about it. The other one I would think about is giraffes turning somersaults. Can they do that or not? I've never given that one too much thought. Would you believe me if I told you that there was a snake that is over 20 feet long and as wide as you are? Would you believe it, or would you doubt it? Would it help if I showed you a picture? What if I told you that there was a spider that was over a foot long? Would you believe it, or would you doubt it? Would a picture help? What if I told you that there was a ball in this bag? Would you believe it? Or would you doubt it? How do we know for sure? You're right. We would have to look inside the bag. And there we can see it. It is a ball. Now I can take another bag. I'm going to tell you this time that we can't look inside it, but we can feel inside it. So I'm going to put my hand inside, and it is soft, and it is squishy. Would you believe me if I told you I had a kitten in here? Maybe not. But the only way we can know for sure what's in this bag is if we're able to look inside of it. It's hard to believe something that is really, really, really amazing. When somebody tells us that something is really big or goes really fast or is really incredible, we often say, I need to see it in order to believe it, because we doubt if it's true or not. Doubting is when you say, I don't know. I need to think about it. I don't know if it's true. I won't believe it until I see it. The Easter story is a really amazing story. It is an incredible story. We've talked about that for the last couple of weeks. Jesus died on the cross and he was buried in a tomb. 3 days later, on Sunday morning, when the women went to his tomb, they found it empty. Then Mary Magdalene saw Jesus. She thought it was the gardener, but when he spoke, She knew Jesus was alive. She told some of the disciples who ran to the tomb, and they also found it empty. Our story continues that Sunday night when all of the disciples were in a locked room together. They were hiding from their enemies because they were afraid. And all of a sudden, Jesus appeared to them. And he said, "Peace be with you." He showed them the wounds in his hands and in his side. And Peter, James, Andrew, John, Philip, Matthew, Thaddeus, John, Simon, and Bartholomew, his disciples were all there. They were all there in that room, and they all saw Jesus, and they knew he was alive. They were filled with joy. But one of the disciples was not in the room. One was missing, and his name was Thomas. When the other disciples saw Thomas, they could not wait to tell him, "We have seen the Lord." They told him, "We've seen his wounds." Oh, but Thomas was not so sure. He said, "First, before I can believe, I have to see the nail scars in his hand and touch them with my fingers. I must put my hand into his side where the spear went. I won't believe unless I do." That makes sense, right? Wouldn't you want to know that Jesus was really alive? I mean, what if the disciples were just joking around? Now, Thomas knew that Jesus had died, and he had heard that he had come to life again. But he said, "I don't know if that's true. I will only believe it when I can see Jesus in person." Thomas had questions, didn't he? How could Jesus be alive? He must have thought, "I saw Jesus die. How could he have come back to life again?" I'm sure that Thomas was angry that Jesus had been killed. I'm sure that he was very sad because he missed Jesus. He was probably confused because all of this happened. He had some real doubts that Jesus was alive. He had to see it for himself. He had to have his questions answered before he could believe or before he could trust what people were saying. Thomas doubted what the disciples told him. He doubted their story. And because he doubted, he got the nickname of Doubting Thomas. Now, Thomas's story is told right in the Bible. It's from the Gospel of John, the 20th chapter, and our story now continues with the 24th verse. It's now 8 days later from when the tomb was empty and discovered by Mary. And he went to the disciples had gathered again in a place where they felt safe, where they felt loved, and where they felt comfortable. The doors were again locked, but this time Thomas was with them. And then, just as suddenly as before, Jesus appeared in the middle of them. And just like before, Jesus said, "Peace be with you." And then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and look at my hands. Put your hand into my side. Stop doubting. Have faith. Believe." Thomas believed. He replied, "My Lord and my God." Jesus told him, "You have believed because you have seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me." He didn't doubt anymore. Why didn't Thomas doubt anymore? Because he had seen with his own eyes that Jesus was alive. He had seen Jesus' hands. He had seen the place where the spear had pierced him in the side that happened at the crucifixion. Thomas now believed that Jesus was God. Up until this time, the disciples had addressed Jesus as the Messiah, as the Son of God, as the Son of the living God, but not God. But now, Thomas believed. Thomas said, "My Lord and my God." Thomas knew that Jesus was God. Who else could have brought someone back to life? Maybe all of the things that Jesus had told the disciples suddenly made sense. Jesus didn't get mad at Thomas when he asked questions or when he doubted. Jesus wasn't worried that Thomas didn't believe at first. Jesus gave him a chance to see for himself. Thomas was one of Jesus' closest followers. He had seen him teach, he had seen him perform miracles, and he had followed him for 3 years. But still, Thomas had doubts when it came right down to after the crucifixion. Jesus used this as an opportunity to turn Thomas's doubts into faith. It's normal. It's okay for us to have doubts too. Everybody has doubts about God at some time. It's not a bad thing. That's just how it is. We worship a God that we can't see with our eyes. We worship a God that we can't touch with our hands. And we worship a God that we can't hear his voice with our ears. It's only natural that we would have some doubts, that there is someone up there in heaven who's listening to our prayers, who loves us and cares for us. Jesus is probably not going to walk through the door and show us his hands, but he is going to let us know that he is there, that he is with us, and he will transform any doubt that we have into faith. When we seek him with our whole heart, we will find him. Let's close today with prayer. We'll do it as a responsive prayer where you can echo back. Dear God, thank you for the life of Jesus, and thank you for your promises. We believe in you and trust you. Even when we can't see you, help us not to be afraid, and to remember that you watch over us. Thank you for your love. We love you, God. In Jesus' name, amen.